Mic check. One, two, one, two. Peace, peace, Brianna. Good to hear from you. Thank you, thank you. Much respect to you as well. Thank you. Hope all is well with y'all. Coming in for a little late night convo. Hope my mic is coming through. Give everybody a chance to get in. And then we'll start chopping it up. Let's see. New moon. Let's see if people get notified. Give them a couple of seconds. Let's see what I got. I'm going to print out this transit chart for the new moon, which will happen here in just a few hours. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and get rolling. Everybody will trickle in as they trickle in. So, first of all, peace to everybody out there in the cyber world. Hope y'all are doing as well as possible and managing this very rapidly changing and dynamic energy that we're living in. I wanted to make sure I captured this moment involving the approaching new moon that will be at 5:30 a.m. June 25th, and that's Central Standard Time. So you can adjust for whatever time zone you're living in. But I think this moon is, we, as always, peace, Christine. As always, we talk about those customary things involving the new moon. We know it's a point of conception, but this moon I think, is of special significance. And I'll pull up the chart here so we can kind of have a visual of things. And I talk so slow. I'm aware of that. But I'm gathering my thoughts as I'm talking. So I'm showing this chart and it's oriented for my location. But we see partly why this new moon is of special significance. One, we have a three, we're going to call it a three planet, although the sun and moon, we know they are luminaries, but we're going to call this a three planet stellium that we have in the sign of Cancer. And because it's in the first decan of Cancer, this is the energy is more concentrated. When a sign initiates, we get the purest form of that sign, which is why the first decan here, we see the symbol here is the moon, and the moon is the ruler of Cancer. So not only do we have the new moon in Cancer, but it's a concentrated Cancer energy in the decan that is associated with the ruler of Cancer, the moon. And we have the moon conjunct an exalted Jupiter in Cancer. Also conjunct the sun, which is what we have to have a new moon, is the sun and moon are starting a new cycle. And I don't know off top, I can't recall the last time there was a sun, moon, Jupiter conjunction in Cancer. I know it wasn't in 2013, the last time that Jupiter was in Cancer. And I haven't gone back past that to try to identify that. Maybe that's something one of you all know, or you can, maybe some other astrologist has maybe talked about it and y'all can share in the comments or something. But me at this moment, I don't know offhand of the last time we had Sun, Moon, Jupiter conjunction in Cancer. And which is why I think we shouldn't overlook this. I'm going to tell you, astrology is a funny thing because sometimes you'll have these configurations that form, and everybody's got their own chart. And whatever transits are happening will affect people differently relative to what's going on in their chart. But overall, an exaltation is an exaltation, and that means there's an opportunity, there's a chance, there's potential when we have something like this. And I think what is the letdown a lot of times for folk is that maybe our expectations may be so high based on how something is presented. And Jupiter in itself is a planet of over expectation. But even in that understanding and that realization, it still doesn't negate the fact of the basic astrological rules that Jupiter is exalted in Cancer and that it has favor in that area. Why? Because Jupiter is expansive and Cancer gives it the terrain to expand and to express, especially through the vehicle of emotion. Now, now, the dark side is that too much of anything can be a problem. It can be toxic. Too much emotion, too much sensitivity, too much nurture, too much water. Too much water can kill you just as much as you got to have water to survive. Too much of it can kill you. So we know that. But we also know that part of being a spiritual adult is figuring out where there is the opportunity in the midst of whatever's going on. And there are challenges, of course, because This Jupiter does not have carte blanche because it's challenged by Neptune and Saturn. And I say that the Saturn square over time could show to be the one of the more positive things, because if Jupiter were in a square with Neptune by itself, this could really be a time where it's just excess. And you're talking about delusional excessiveness through the roof. And as much as Jupiter is associated with mercy, the fact that Saturn is involved in this square is mercy in itself because it helps to ground things. It puts the brakes on some of the things. It slows some things up. It creates some frustration, which is good because it's helping to test the vision of Jupiter. And Saturn's been doing that. I just this quote, and I've been saying this quote in different means, but this is how I've really coined it now. Saturn rewards relative to the measure of discipline and endurance you develop and mastery you attain. Saturn rewards relative to the measure of discipline and endurance you develop and mastery you attain. Excuse me. And Saturn here in this square to Jupiter, this dignified Jupiter, and at the time of this new moon, this dignified moon because it's in its domicile. Saturn's reminding us of how to get its rewards. And let's not forget that Saturn conjunct Neptune gives us symbolically, it attunes us to the symbolism of Capricorn that Saturn rules. The glyph of Capricorn looks like this. This part is considered to be the goat or the land animal. And this is the tail, but it's not the tail of a goat, it's the tail of a fish. So Capricorn is called the sea goat. The front part of it is a goat, the back part is a fish, which is giving a clue to the magic that is inherent in Saturn and Capricorn. As much as we talk about discipline and hard work and endurance, Saturn is magical. What's the lady's name? Oh man, I can't remember her name, but she wrote Astrology or Cosmic Science. Oh, I can't see her. I can't see her book, but I know it's on the tip of my tongue. But she says that Saturn is the first law of manifestation. She doesn't explain what she means by that, but did. I'm deduced my own meaning, came to my own conclusion with that, because Saturn and Uranus both deal with borders and boundaries. Saturn creates them, and Uranus helps us realize them by going beyond them. You realize where a border was by encroaching one. But let's just talk about Saturn. By borders denote limitation, i.e., a box, right? So Saturn creates a box. That's a terrible box. Saturn creates a box. And that box creates limits. But if you want to manifest something, you need to put limitation or borders or perimeter around that which you look to attain. Just like if I'm catching fish, I need to have a net. So that's what I think she meant by that. Saturn creates its formation, its structure, and you need a structure to enclose that which you are bringing into reality. My point of bringing all this up is that Saturn conjunct Neptune, quiet is kept, is mimicking the symbolism of the sea goat. Neptune is lord of the sea. Saturn is the goat or the representative of the Capricorn. Those two together, if used correctly, form a magical combination. And the square to Jupiter, squares create energy, squares denote action. If we can direct our actions correctly, there's an opportunity for growth. This is how I'm seeing this. Just as much as this can be negative, this can be something that can be used for great propulsion. And we got all that here converging right here. Okay. So one of the potential themes here, peace, Andrea, peace, Natalia. So some things I wrote, and this is a I'll tell you up front, this is a little trick here where I wrote this because it's not all sweet and fluffy as it may first appear. I wrote renewed hope, faith, trust, vision involving your nativity, your nation, your roots, your family. And then off to the side, I wrote the land of milk and honey. Now this is steeped in symbolism. So I'm going to do my best to try to break this down. First part is pretty self-explanatory. Renewed, new moon, new, renewed, renewed hope, faith, trust, vision. These are all words associated with Jupiter. And we could go on, right? But here's the thing about this. For anything new to be starting, let's just take a new moon. What has happened for us to have a new moon? The moon has completed a previous cycle where it was new. It had its it was oh God, I can't think. It was a crescent moon, then it was a first quarter square, then it was um I can't remember the next phase. God, my words are slipping me. Um right before it gets to full, then we have a full moon, then we have a disseminating moon. What was it? Was a waxing crest, waxing gibbous. That's what I meant to say. Waxing gibbous, then a full moon, then it's disseminating, then we have the last quarter square, then we have what's called a balsamic moon. And balsamic means to distill. And you know, distillation is we're taking something and extracting the essence and we're discarding what we don't need. So the moon has gone through all of this where it's gone through the final stages, a filtering process, meaning something had to be extracted, something taken away, something discarded so that we could actually get the vital essence out of the previous cycle. Then we have a new moon. So for the renewal of hope and faith and trust and all that to be realized, we have to also be at the same time letting things go and shedding. And so when I say renewed hope and all this around nativity, because these are words associated with the moon or with Cancer, I should say, nativity, nation, roots, family. The renewal comes after there's been a shedding. And this is where the story takes a twist. Peace, Lisa. Peace, Shauna. This is where the story takes a twist. And I want to start with the word family. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to go away from this chart right now. We're going to go to where I have some more room to write. This is where the plot twist. The plot twist. Hmm. Okay. So the energy of Cancer in the natural zodiac sits at the bottom of the wheel. And Cancer is also typically associated with the IC. And the IC is the root or the gravity of the zodiac because it is what grounds and pulls us down. The MC is where we are looking to ascend towards. Okay. So the energy of Cancer is the roots, it's family. Now, when you look at that word family, etymologically, from familia, Latin, you know what this word really traces back to? It means uh, servant of the house. And in some sources, that servant is interchangeable with the word slave. Servant or slave of the house. Now, when you think of family, is that what we typically think of at first glance? No, we think of family. These are the people I love, and we share blood, and we have to look out for each other, and um, you know, all those things. But we wouldn't think of servant and slave, slave of the house, servant of the house. So this is what we want to do. Well, what is servant? Well, when you take that word servant, just hitting my servant means press together. And I'm talking etymology, not basic definition. It's etymology. Press together and also protect. It's almost like you think about pressing together like plies of tissue paper or plywood, where there's been this pressing together to create some type of stronger piece of material, a sturdier, more durable material, or something that can perform better. So this gives us, then it shifts us from the initial negativity that might have arose when we heard servant. Something pressed together. Okay. I can jive with that. But on the negative side though, sometimes there's a pressing together, but there ain't no protection. And the pressing together almost lines up with the real meaning of, if we take a word like religion. And you probably heard a million people say this, that its etymology, it means to be bound to. And that can be positive or negative. Sometimes being bound to something gives you foundation. It gives you something to it gives you support. And other times being bound is the same as being in bondage, i.e., being pressed together. When you look into the root of words, they always give you both sides, the polarity. So we're looking at the negative polarity now, where being pressed together or being bound may be something that is confining. And maybe there's something that we got to let go within the institution of family, within the institution of roots, nativity. Your family is your first nation. Why is that something that we may need to consider right now? Because family, for the higher octave of the etymology of servant, which is protection. See, to me, that protection part is the higher octave. It is pressed together for the purpose of protection, higher octave. And for me, for that higher octave to be realized, there has to be a culture. And if we're going to be honest, we're in a world, especially in the Western paradigm, to where for many of us, either we don't have a culture in family, or the culture we have is toxic. And the word culture means behavior. And culture is associated with, from some astrological opinions, Venus. Venus, i.e., Taurus, her rulership in Taurus, because Taurus associated with the second house is keywords I have. And if you have a if a culture is present, then Aries, the sense of who I am, emerges. And then second sign, Taurus, says I have. Culture supports identity because it gives you a form of behavior to support the development of your identity. And if you don't have culture, then your identity is not supported. And then by the time we get to the fourth house, then what is family? Maybe it's just a prison. Cancer ruled by the moon is also going to deal with blood. And sometimes the blood is the bondage because we don't know how entities may have latched on to a particular other type of energy to try to thwart that energy through converging with it in the blood. What am I saying? That there may be certain sentinels of light that come, and there might be malfactors that latch on to that via family and will come in being the same blood because the blood is where you interface with divinity. Blood come, divinity comes and interfaces with humanity through the blood. So if something wants to come in and disrupt a potential evolutionary cycle or incarnation that could promote an evolutionary realization, then you would try to go and jump in the blood to thwart it. Let me break it down even simpler. Sometimes you will find your greatest enemy in your fucking family. You understand? Is that simple enough? And maybe to fully realize the potential of this Jupiter in Cancer and this new star. You understand? It's a new moon, it's a new star. It's not just a new moon, it's a new moon that is dancing with Jupiter. Maybe we got to come to a realization that there are certain aspects of family contextually that we got to release. And now, this is not a case of me being anti family, it is a case of me examining something. It's a 48-year examination and contemplation, and it not being enough to just accept the rudimentary, standardized uh acceptance of this institution we call family. And Jupiter is a planet that deals with institutions, institutions of higher learning, institutions of law, philosophical things, truth. What's the truth around the institution of family? What is it? Are we just living out a lie? Are we just living out a Hallmark card? The work I do has given me the fortune to meet people from all over the world. I've worked with people from Far East Asia, Southeast Asia, from Europe, from Africa, all over the United States, all through this computer. And let me tell you, what I'm saying is not some ramblings of a madman or just conjecture. The vast majority of people's wounds come through the institution of family. So you have got to at least ask the question or ponder this institution of family. So again, new moon in Cancer, right? So, like I always say, go back and analyze the physiology to give you clues to understand the archetypes. Every sign is associated with a part of the body or parts. Cancer is associated with the breasts on a woman and the stomach of everybody. What's the connection? As a baby, you suckle the breasts. The breasts provide sustenance, and the breasts produce something called colostrum. I think it's spelled Colostrum. Colostrum. And I'm very familiar with this because my wife breastfed both of our children, and she would freeze the milk, and the milk would have a kind of a fatty, kind of greasy type of texture, and it wasn't white. It was golden. So in the Bible, when we hear about moving into the land of milk and honey, one of those, one of the symbolic references is to breast milk. And that's sidebar. That's why I call my business 720 astrology, because each breast is 360 degrees. And those two breasts equal 720 degrees. My moon happens to be in Cancer. So when I do these videos, when I'm talking to people, when I'm counseling, when I'm doing readings, even if the words come out, what maybe appear harshly, it's always coming from the moon, which really desires to feed. Because your moon is, how do you feed people and how do you look to be fed? Which is why the moon is also associated with the stomach, because it gives sustenance and it receives. How were you fed? From the family. What have you received? How much of it has been actual sustenance that you can use to revitalize yourself on all levels? And what of it needs to be sent to the colon to be discarded? Scorpio. Milk in Hebrew. One of the renderings, now this really grabbed me, is uh cabal. You know, that's one of the words on the oh no, not cabal. Collab. I'm sorry. Lam it before the bit. That right there spells collab. When you, the gematria is 40. Okay. Now I'm gonna tell you something that is very significant that I found that strikes me about this. We're talking about milk, right? Well, the letter meme in Hebrew, I hate this new, oh, that's what I can do. Control Z. There we go. You hold it down too long, it'll create a damn shape on here. Okay. Meme, the letter meme is where we get our M from. It has a value of 40. And meme itself has the energy of the womb because the meme represents the waters of matter. Lines right up. Then honey. One of the words for honey is dabash. Dabash. That's a dalet. That's a bet and a shin. And those add up to 306. Okay. Now I'm going to give you, I can't move this thing right now. One of these days, I'll show you all what I got in some other things I'm working on. But I'll say this. Everything is everything. Okay. And I got to make sure I can say this where it makes sense. I've been saying that everything is a song. It's all music. And all we're trying to do is find the right key. And music sound is frequency. So if I'm curious about a particular word, what Hebrew does is it gives you the chance or the opportunity to find something that has the same frequency. And that's why we look at a word that may have similar or the same gematria, because then it gives me the frequency range, what all can exist, even when it comes to your health and wellness. It is about frequency. Let me see if I can pick this thing up and not mess it up. Right now, I can't do it. Right now, I'm running frequencies on myself. I'm doing a detox on my wife and me using a frequency generator. So this stuff I'm talking about covers the whole spectrum, physicality to spirituality, because they're all connected. Your everyday life is your spirituality. It is not separate. Spirit means breath, ruach. So as long as you are breathing, you are having a spiritual experience. The problem oftentimes is that we are not aware of the vital essence and breath of simple things we doing. Everything is a ritual. Everything is spiritual. Everything is a frequency. So that's just a sidebar. But back to this word honey. So if I want to get some type of metaphysical mm, more depth out of this word, right? The symbolism of honey, then guess what? We have this word, Esha, has the same value. Now, remember, I said milk and honey symbolically on one level is talking about the breasts. Well, check out this word, Esha. You know what this is? It means fire, but it is feminine fire. Remember, I said when there's a hey on the end of a word in Hebrew, a lot of times this denotes something feminine. Because if you want to say the masculine would be ish, and in Arabic, when they say what, it's ish, ish, and literally what etymologically through English traces back to fire. I got that in my learning, my handout that I got on my website that you can get at 720astrology.com. I explain that. Ish, what? Same as fire. But the Esha is feminine. So hold on. Mean is feminine. Esha, which lines up with the Dabash, and honey, color wise, we could almost match that up with fire, a golden flame. So here we have the mother passing her vital essence through her breasts to the child. And this is giving us the template for what family is supposed to represent. Family is supposed to be a means through culture to pass vital essence from one timeline to another. But let's just keep it real. Many times, like I said, the vast majority of people I deal with is family, family, something around family. Didn't feel protected, was harmed, was not paid attention to, was abandoned, you know, uh, control, some type of issue with family, family, man, family. And if you don't have the wherewithal to wake up and come to a realization that, hey, I'm going to have to figure this thing out for me, then these people have children, then they have children. And this is what it means by a family curse. The greatest family curse is the the lack of realization. The lack of realization. Now, I want to take this another direction. We're going to erase all of this and we're going to go to the a Hebrew word for the first time that family is mentioned in the Bible. It is mishpachah, and that's a meme, that's a shin, a fey, mishpach, that's a kit, and then there's a hey on the end, that feminine. Mishpachah, and this has a value of 433. Now, I'm going to tell you what I did because I take these liberties all the time. I took this word or this gematria, and I put the threes together to 6, bring the 4 down. So basically I just add, because when we add these words up, or these numbers, they're gonna all come out to be a 1. Because 4, 3, 3 is 10, 4 and 6 is 10. Okay. I'm just gonna reduce 2 of those digits to bring it down to a 2-digit number, and then look and see what's something that resonates at that frequency, which is the same thing that this generator would do. Like if you, well, we'll come back to that. So there's a word in Hebrew, mu, and I've talked about this on another when I talked about Mariah, and I told the story about, we were just talking about Mariah, then my wife goes into Costco, and when she's walking out, the young lady checking out, her name is Mariah. Like, just signs of spirit letting you know, yeah, you own it. So 46, mu. You know what mu means? It means the cry, the outcry of the vulture. The outcry of the vulture. Now you know what's his name? Albert Churchward wrote a book called Children of Mu. And we know that arguably that mu would also be extended to be more. Yeah, some people will argue against that, you know, whatever. But children of Mu, children of Atlantis. Okay, this outcry of the vulture, this 46, what else does that trigger in our minds physiologically? Somebody put it in the chat for me. 46. What does 46 make you think of? You get 23 from one parent, 23 from the other. 46 chromosomes. I may have put y'all to sleep over there. 46 chromosomes. Now, where am I getting at? We started out looking at the family, and we found that family from familia denotes a servant of the house, and in some renderings, a slave. And then we take the Hebrew mishpachah, and we reduce it down to mu, the outcry of the vulture, and we know that 46, the gematria, lines up with us having 46 chromosomes. This is what I'm showing. The 46 chromosomes can be the place of bondage. The 46 chromosomes, arguably, in some regards, is the prison. It's the lockdown. It is where you do your time. And remember, back in the day, they say, do the time. Don't let the time do you. Well, this is where we arguably are doing the time. 46 chromosomes. Now we're going to take it another level, because I live in the world of symbolism. So Pardon me if it just sounds far fetched. And I don't know if this will show up. So the other day, had this huge, see if that'll show up in the camera. That's a wing of a vulture that was in our front yard. As I was looking into this stuff around family, big old huge vulture wing. I take things like that as signs that I've tapped into something, and that okay, to continue pursuing this. The vulture in mythology is associated with Mut, or also called Ma'at. So let me go and grab my Animal Speaks book, and we'll read a little bit out of there about the vulture, and tie this into this energy right now. Okay. This is from Animal Speaks. Keynote: purification, death and rebirth, new vision. Now, we associate Jupiter with being a visionary planet. And the new moon is newness. One of the key words here is new vision. I think it lines right up with this new moon and the conjunction with Jupiter. In Egypt, the goddess of truth, Maat, is usually depicted carrying a vulture feather. In parts of Egypt, the vulture was also a mother symbol, mother, probably because it devours corpses, enabling other life to sustain itself. Often animals and birds representing a form of the divine power which would dispose of what could otherwise be dangerous to life and health. Life and death were both often mother symbols. The womb, the tomb. Although their role as scavengers is often considered disgusting, it serves an extremely valuable and necessary function. It limits infections and bacteria from corpses that could otherwise spread to other animals who do not have the resistance. They serve to keep the environment clean and in balance. They prevent the spread of disease. I want you, I want to drill down on that. Talking about the vulture, they are seen as scavengers and disgusting. And they're some ugly birds, but at the core, they do the work that nobody else wants to do. And in doing so, they limit infection and they prevent the spread of disease. So I ask you, are you the vulture in your family? You're the one who, through your struggles, through your toiling, you're doing the work to prevent the spread of disease. Your job is to create a new culture. Because what we said, family ain't shit without a proper culture. And if you can't go back and fix an old culture, then you must be the one to create a new culture. New moon in Cancer. The vultures have a wonderful ability to see and use the thermals rising from the earth, giving them lift. Their ability to use the thermals is often likened to auric vision, the ability to see the subtle energy emanations from the body. Um, the vulture is a patient hunter. It can soar for hours without flapping its wings. They are tremendous symbols of flight without power. They ride the thermals and wind-borne updrafts. They use air currents to interfere with the pull of gravity and allow themselves to fly. In essence, they do not need to expend much energy to oppose gravity. This is seen in the fact that their wings rarely move, reflecting that the power for flight does not come from them. They simply use what is available. They simply use what is available. Let's see. I got a lot of stuff I highlighted. Let's see. Okay, I gotta read. One of the mystical secrets believed to be held by the vulture is the ability to levitate. Levitation is the law of spirituality. Gravity is the impulse toward the material and mundane, physical. The vulture denies the material. Its ability to float, rise, and soar has been seen as a symbol of movement away from the mundane. It is a symbol of the disintegration of physical wholes. It is a symbol of distributing one's energy so that gravity does not weigh and hold one down, be it the actual gravity of the earth or the gravity of mundane situations and experiences. Wow. Okay. When a turkey vulture comes in as a totem, there may also be changes in your eliminative processes. The turkey vulture is one of just a few animals that will eliminate over its own legs and feet. It will squirt excrement on itself. This is due partly to cleansing the feet and legs of bacteria that may have accumulated on them while the vulture was feeding on the carcass. The same antibacterial chemical in the digestive tract is found within the excrement, serving as a bactericide for the legs and feet. Hmm. The bullshit is the remedy. The bullshit with family as an institution is the remedy, helping you to see things as they are so that you can form the perspective that you need to form. Before new moon, there is a balsamic moon where we filter out the bullshit so that we can start anew. The hope, the vision, the fidelity, the trust, all of that is hinged upon us realizing what can no longer go on with us, that can no longer journey with us, what needs to be released so that we're not carrying some ridiculous load that's only going to weigh us down on this new journey. Let me just be clear. I'm not trying to say toss your family to the side, but I'm saying you got to really give serious thought to all of these. The words we throw around and use, and we never ask where they come from and what do they really mean? What's their real significance? We got to start questioning, and we got to start being like children and asking why. And we also must be courageous enough, Mars in Virgo, to act on our own volition, to move based on the what we've been commissioned to do. Each morning, the vulture will face the sun with wings outstretched to warm its feathers and to cleanse itself of bacteria that may still remain. In this fashion, the wings actually serve as mini solar collectors. The vulture has no real voice. It will force air out its bill and hiss. To some, this reflects the lesson of acting rather than talking. To some, it shows that vulture medicine has to do with performing rather than talking about performing. So I think that concludes what I want to deal with on this new moon. Again, will occur here in about 4 hours, 4.5, whatever, 4 hours or so, 4.5. And just want to encourage everybody to hold on and to courageously see whatever you're being shown, to trust your path because there are two big finger of God or yods in the sky. And it's like there's things we can't see. There are blind spots. And not to get biblical, but oh, excuse me, it truly speaks to the reality of walking by faith, regardless of you being part of any whatever institution. We're talking about faith as in what the word really means: fidelity, trust. Trust in what internally you have been ordered to do and where you've been sent, where you've been directed, even if it seems crazy, even if nobody else will follow you. So per usual, you know where you can find me, 720astrology.com. And you know what I do. I I help facilitate harmonic frequency generation and maintenance. Everything I do is directed toward helping to facilitate harmonic frequency generation and maintenance. And if that is what you are into or looking for, then that's what I have to offer through my services. All of them. As always, Stay down till you get up. When you get up, stay down. And of course, know the stars to know yourself. Peace. And thank all of y'all. If I miss anybody, I think I acknowledge everybody in the chat. Thank you all. Be powerful. Be protected. Peace.